ballroom gleamed with chandeliers that looked like frozen waterfalls, pouring light across marble floors polished, so clean you could see your soul in them. Laughter, music, and the clinking of champagne glasses filled the air as the city's elite gathered to celebrate the engagement of billionaire-era man known for his money, arrogance, and the cold confidence in his smirk. Everyone wanted to be seen at this party. Everyone except the man pushing a mop near the corner of the room. He moved slowly, quietly, trying to stay invisible, his gray uniform hanging loosely on his shoulders, his face hidden under a faded cap. To the guests, he was just a shadow, a background figure not worth noticing. To Ethan he was a joke. "You missed a spot," Ethan sneered, his voice sharp enough to slice through the music. Several guests turned to watch, amused. "You people can't even clean properly. What's the point of paying you?" The janitor looked up for just a moment, his dark eyes calm, not angry. He simply nodded and whispered, "Sorry, sir," before returning to his work. Ethan chuckled. Pathetic. He muttered to his fiancée who was standing beside him in a flowing white gown that shimmered like moonlight. "Can you imagine living like that? Cleaning up after people like us?" Lydia didn't laugh. Her smile faltered, just for a moment. "Ethan," she said softly, "you shouldn't talk to people like that." Ethan turned to her, confused. "What? It's just a janitor. They're used to it." Lydia's fingers tightened around her glass. Her heart thudded against her ribs. She wanted to speak, but her throat went dry. The janitor's back was turned, but she could still feel his presence. Calm, steady, painfully familiar. As the night went on, Ethan's friends laughed louder, drank more, and tossed careless comments toward the staff. But Lydia couldn't focus. Her eyes kept darting to the man with the mop. His slow, careful movements, the way he avoided eye contact, the way he gently helped a young waiter who had tripped and spilled juice. There was kindness in him, the kind that didn't belong in a room full of pride. And that kindness stirred something deep inside her. A memory she had buried long ago. Years earlier, before the fancy dresses and designer rings, Lydia had been just another struggling student trying to survive. She remembered an old apartment, the smell of coffee, and a man's rough hands fixing a broken table so she could study properly. "You don't need the world to see your worth," he used to say. "You just need to know it yourself." That man, her father, had disappeared from her life after she left home, after shame and misunderstanding had torn them apart. She had believed he'd gone abroad to find work, but something deep inside her always told her he was closer than she thought. Now, watching the janitor move under the golden lights, her heart whispered a truth her mind didn't want to accept, but how could it be? Her father, the man who had raised her alone, the man who had taught her dignity, working as a janitor in the mansion of her fiancé's family. Her chest tightened. She wanted to call out, to run to him, but fear wrapped around her like chains. What would Ethan say? What would his powerful family think if they learned her father was just a janitor? "Lydia, are you even listening?" Ethan's voice snapped her back to the present. "I said my father wants us to visit the board meeting next week. He wants to make sure you understand the family business." Lydia nodded quickly. "Yes, of course." "Good," Ethan said, adjusting his cufflinks. "You need to learn how things work in the real world. Not everyone gets a free ride." His smirk returned. "Especially not janitors." Lydia flinched. The words burned her. She looked away, pretending to admire the flowers, but her eyes found her father again. He was on his knees now, wiping spilled champagne from the floor, as the guests laughed carelessly nearby. He didn't look up. He didn't fight back. He just kept cleaning, with quiet dignity. That night, after the party ended, Lydia slipped away from Ethan and walked toward the service hallway. The chandeliers were off now, and the silence felt heavy. She found the janitor folding his mop, ready to leave. Her heart pounded as she whispered, "Excuse me, sir." He turned slowly. When their eyes met, The world seemed to freeze. His eyes softened. Those same warm, steady eyes from her childhood. "Lydia?" he breathed. Her lips trembled. "Dad." For a moment, neither moved. Then she rushed forward, tears blurring her vision. He dropped the mop and caught her in his arms, holding her as if afraid she would disappear. "I thought you were gone," she sobbed. "I looked everywhere." "Why didn't you come back?" He closed his eyes. "I couldn't," he said quietly. "Not after what happened with your mother?" "I lost everything, Lydia. The company, the house. I didn't want you to see me like this. I didn't want you to be ashamed." Lydia pulled back, her tears shining like stars. "Ashamed? You worked your whole life for me. You gave me everything." He smiled weakly. "Now you have everything I couldn't give you. A good life, a rich fiancé. You don't need an old janitor as a father." She shook her head fiercely. "Don't say that. You're not just a janitor, you're my dad." Behind them, a slow clap echoed through the hallway. They both turned, and there stood Ethan. His smirk was gone, replaced by something darker, colder. "So," he said, stepping forward, "this is your father." "Two, up." The echo of Ethan's slow clap lingered in the corridor like a cruel heartbeat. Lydia froze, her father's arms still around her shoulders as Ethan stepped closer, his expensive shoes clicking against the marble. The smirk that had once been playful was now poisonous. "So," he said, his voice smooth and mocking, "this is your father, the janitor." His words were dipped in disbelief, in arrogance. The kind that comes from never having known humility. Lydia swallowed hard, her fingers tightening around her father's sleeve. "Ethan. Please." "Please what?" Ethan cut her off. "Please pretend this isn't pathetic. You lied to me, Lydia. You let me believe you came from class, from prestige. And all this time your father's been mopping my family's floors." The silence was heavy, painful. Her father looked down shoulders, as if the weight of shame had finally crushed him. But Lydia's heart burned with something new. Anger. Not the quiet kind that hides behind fear, but the kind that wakes up after years of being silenced. She stepped forward. "I never lied," she said, her voice trembling but firm. "You just assumed. You saw my manners, my education, and you thought that meant money. I never said it did." Ethan scoffed. "Don't twist this around. You're marrying into a family of billionaires, Lydia. Appearances matter." Her father lifted his head. His eyes, tired but proud, met Ethan's. "Son," he said quietly, "appearances don't build character. Work does. I've cleaned this place for years, and I've seen more honesty in dust than in some of the suits that walk these halls." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Don't lecture me, old man. You're lucky I don't have security throw you out